And my name is Lindy James. Um, I'm a Dakini and a sexual healer and a Tantric teacher. Lindy at lindyjames.com.
And I'm Evalena Rose. I have been teaching Tantra 23 years, doing less and less of it now. And I'm also a channel for the Council of 12, and I call myself a meta therapist. It's therapy with a much bigger metaphysical, spiritual base to it. And I also do energy healing, and I love this woman so much. We taught together for a decade or more, and I find her work extraordinary.
Yeah. And between the two of us, we can heal the world.
Let's do it.
Oh, some things just pop out of my mouth.
They
It's
do.
the truth.
Yes, and we love what pops out of your mouth. So,
So,
Lindy, what do you know about sexuality and aging?
well, geez, that's a big subject. And I just want to say that as we age, we change a little bit, or sometimes we change a lot.
Hmm.
And the, the, um, the hormones of youth and this urge to reproduce and be sexual on a much more physical level seems to diminish. And I want to say about both of us that we're very alive and sensual and playful in our sexuality. That I want, for me, I feel more alive and sexual than when I was younger because I had so much to heal and so many wounds and fears. And now I feel the gift of Tantra has really done so much to heal me and open me to energy.
I would say so. That's true for me as well. I would say this age and every age before it has been better than the one that went before that. And I'm 76, and I have the most active erotic life ever. I feel more joy, more satisfaction, more fulfillment from my sexuality and sensuality than I ever have before. And because I had so much trauma and incest, my early years, it was like sometimes I could feel and sometimes I couldn't. And now I've had time to work all that trauma out of my body. So I have full possession of my body and I can really feel the energy moving in a lot more ways. And I think we arrive at where making love is a multi-chakra affair. That we're actually making love with all our chakras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also the ability to be in awareness of how we feel, but even more so the conditioning of how we think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I worked very hard to let go of I'm supposed to be hot, I'm supposed to be wet and sexy and all these things when my radiance, my true radiance comes out when I use my voice and I do the processes that open all my chakras.
Mm-hmm.
So then, as Evalena says, it's a multi chakra affair. Like we can make love just from our heart.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can listen to our heart and listen to our yonis and what our yonis have to say. Who taught us that?
Right.
Not in the beginning, for sure.
Right. Right. And I feel almost without exception, I wouldn't want to make love without my heart involved. That it's that place of feeling honored and seen as a being and appreciated as this unique woman that that is the turn on. And when the other's just trying to do sex or make love, I don't feel it. It's not, it doesn't touch me in the same way.
Yes, exactly. And one of the things that you teach is this orgasmic reflex. And so at a certain point, I started using that undulation in my pelvis. So when I feel pleasure,
Mhm.
rather than going for a achieving an orgasm, I undulate and this beautiful wave just comes up and through my body so that the pleasure can heal anything that's stuck and awaken everything. And then that creates such a beautiful charge between myself and whoever I'm making love with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
It never would have occurred to me, like, oh, just undulate. So I undulate all the time now, just a little, and then it goes shoo.
I think a lot of people, especially women, have learned to kind of hold their breath when they get near orgasm. And that, first of all, it makes it feel like it's going to explode you because you're holding everything in. But the breath is so important to carry that into the whole body. So what we learn in Tantra is a whole body orgasm where you add breath, you add undulation. Sometimes you're going faster and sometimes you slow way down. So you're adding more of a pacing that's working for both people rather than, okay, now we got it. We're there. Let's keep going. Let's keep going toward that big O.
Right.
Because once you get there, for many people, especially most men, then that's kind of it for a while. And what we're doing is stretching the journey and just allowing the journey to consume more and more of us. So all of us comes into the orgasmic field and into the orgasms. And that is delightful.
Is uh, and the piece I want to add to what you just said is like also sound, like using your voice. My partner likes to talk, so he uses his voice in words. I don't have any words. I'm just different kinds of sounds. And I had to give myself permission to be as noisy, as full volume as I want. And that it amplifies the feeling through my body. And if my sense in my body gets quiet and I don't feel much pleasure, either I make more sound and that opens me, or I check in with my heart. And when I can say to my partner, can we stop for a moment? My heart's afraid, or my throat is tight, or I'm confused. And he says yes, and he holds me, then it all opens back up again.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I think part of, I want to say eldering instead of aging. I actually
Yes.
think, I feel I've stopped aging and I'm ripening. And I
Ooh,
think a
yes.
lot of us are ripening, just getting better and better and fuller rather than time taking things away from us. So I think a part of eldering or ripening is developing a sense of patience and of presence. And what you're speaking about is if I lose presence, I'm not going to just go on and pretend and try to make it okay. I'm going to do what gives me presence again.
Yes.
Because presence is where all the pleasure is. It's all in now, it's not in what you're trying to do in the future.
Right. It's not in fantasy. It's
Mm-hmm.
not in story. And particularly the story of I'm not beautiful anymore. I'm not this young nubile thing. And actually, I have more radiance, and you have more radiance
Mm-hmm.
now. And I actually feel more beautiful now than I did when I was quote unquote more beautiful.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah.
And when my yoni, as happens to women, feels not as moist or very tender, I really listen to her, and she may need less touch to
Mm-hmm.
feel more, like
Mm-hmm.
just cupping my yoni.
Mm-hmm.
There's many things that help her feel more ripe, but when she gets really ripe, when she gets really full, then all the moisture, all of the lubrication is really there.
Mm-hmm.
It's still taking me, I still get that little fear. I'm not
Uh-huh.
going to I'm not going to achieve lubrication. And I have to keep being gentle with myself because it does happen.
Yeah. And part of what we've learned in Tantra is to let go of all the achieve,
Yes.
because people lose the pleasure of making love trying to achieve an orgasm, achieve a simultaneous orgasm or wetness or whatever. And what we learn is to meet your body where it is. If you want more wetness, there's lubes. You know, there are all kinds of aids that can support being present to what is rather than worrying about what isn't. So it's meeting the body where it is, it's meeting the energy where it is, and then tuning in enough to find out what you want. So I was sharing with you at one point, I was making love with someone and I felt like he just was disappearing. It's like, where are you? But instead of where are you, which would have put the kibosh on the energy, I said, I wonder if you'd be willing to pour your heart through your Vajra. And it was like, whoa. Suddenly the energy was like way, way more and totally carried us because of that presence. That presence is what's the most erotic to me.
Absolutely. And that finding your voice.
Mm-hmm.
So, when my lover would say, "What do you want?" I would freeze. I wouldn't have, I don't know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
But when I am just fully in my body, then I can hear what I want. I want to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, can we pause for a minute? Oh, I love what you're doing, but just a little bit slower.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so happy to hear me say something and honor what I want.
Yeah. I like to call it giving the other the keys to the queendom.
I love that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's such a good one.
So when you share what you want, you're actually honoring the other person because you're treating them like someone who would love to please you. And when you tell them again and again what you want, that's the keys to the kingdom. And what people will say is when we practice this is it was so good it helped me get out of my mind. I'm not here guessing what she wants. I can tell it. And by her sounds, if I do it at a certain level, I hear the moans and groans. And if I go past that level, the sounds diminish. So I'm being guided by her sounds and her request. So I know I'm in the groove and I can just let go of worrying or thinking about it, which is creating more presence in both people.
Yeah. And so I encourage everyone that I work with and you who are watching, like it's it there's a kind of fear around being too micromanaging, but just saying it simply. I love what you're doing. Can you do it a little more to the left? Ah. And so it's inviting and encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
And and then we really can help each other energetically by really listening. And at a certain point, and it takes practice to really listen on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Meditation helps a lot. And at a certain point, we can feel the other as well. And the energies begin to merge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And some of it's giving yourself permission to tune in.
Mhm.
It's so funny that lovemaking is such an intimate, personal thing, and we try to jump into the other person to make sure they're getting what they want. But then you're not home, and there goes presence.
Right.
So there's some work to be done with many people of having permission to tune in, having permission to listen to what they want, having permission from themselves to actually speak it. In the channelings, we'll often tell someone of that sort, in the next couple weeks, give yourself 1,000 permissions because then it opens doors for you to actually show up for yourself, which is the gift to the other person that you're taking care of you so they can take care of them.
Exactly. I'm chuckling because the name of my website is the Permission Zone. And I am a permissionary on a mission to give permission or really to encourage, as Evalena just said, that permission that you give yourself and letting go of those beliefs like I'm selfish.
Uh-huh.
Receiving really is giving.
Yes.
It's such a beautiful thing.
It is the gift from your heart to the other to receive. It lets them know that you value them. It it reinforces that we're co-creating something together here. And when both people have their voice, they say what they want, they're totally present, you're able to co-create something bigger than either one of you. So orgasms, instead of being something might be delicious, but more first and second chakra, become all the chakras. And together you learn to build energy that can take you into these rarefied states. And men also become multiply orgasmic through learning ejaculatory choice. So that men and women, or women and women, men and men, or whatever your preference, you're able to keep building to the next orgasm and the next orgasm. And I find that they take you into these upper states, upper chakras. And sometimes it gets so expansive, you just want to say, let's meditate. And you just go out into the void together.
Yum.
Yum.
And I want to speak to like some of the things that happen as we ripen.
Right.
Is like for myself, I don't feel what we would call horny. I don't very often. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think about sex like I might have when I was younger. And just the other day, I had said to my beloved, I wanted to make love at the end of the day when we were back from our trip. And so then he asked me, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to read my book because I didn't feel anything going on here. And then he kept asking me, and then I'd say, well, what do you want to do? He goes, oh, I don't know. So I just took charge and I said, okay, let's just take our clothes off and put our bodies together. And if nothing else, we'll feel that delicious skin to skin. And guess what?
Mm-hmm.
So we just start moving and I start that undulation and it is like a meditation. So I'm feeling all of what's in me and then I'm starting to feel in him and we can go for shorter periods of time. I'm learning to not go for so long that I'm sore later in my spine from undulating so much. And I found that being in my full pleasure and saying, okay, we're going to stop now, then rather than going so long that I don't feel that much charge in my body anymore, leaving it when I still feel this aliveness did bring on a little bit of thinking about later.
Uh-huh.
So it's it doesn't have to be like I was talking with my friend yesterday, and she said, "Yeah, I just don't really care anymore about making love, about having sex." And I think that's part of both of our gift is helping people come into that sensual, sexual, making love with the divine, making love in the moment to every breath, as well as with another human.
I remember a phase that I went through. I've had women partners and men partners, and when I was with a woman, we cared a lot about each other, but neither of us ever felt like making love. But we would make a date once a week, and we would have a tantra date. And the agreement was we'd show up, we'd breathe, we'd run some energy, and see what happened. So we would sit at the altar, we'd light candles, we'd say our prayers, we'd do our ritual, and then we would breathe, and then we would just start stroking each other's bodies. And then we felt like making love. And we'd often go into a couple hours of just amazing lovemaking, but we started from zero. And I think that's a piece people need to know is that as your bodies change, it may be way less sparked by hormones or pheromones. You know the person for some time. So it's I think I really want us to make some time to make love. That's all you need is start there. And then you do the ritual and you do the breathing and you do the undulation and then the lovemaking becomes what you're doing.
Exactly. And, I work with couples, and sometimes one or the other, often it's the woman, doesn't want to be touched. Things have come up, they've not known how to be with it. I don't want to be touched. And so we teach them, okay, we're going to have a 10-minute connect. We'll just do a little ritual, or we'll do spooning and breathe through the chakras. For me, meditation is kind of a turn on. Being fully in my body is kind of a turn on. And so rather than stopping all connection because I don't want to have sex, I just suggest that they just do a connect, a breath together, whatever, like you said, and then have the boundary of 10 minutes, then get up and take care of the children and make dinner or whatever. And it leaves a little longing for maybe coming back.
Uh-huh. Mhm. I think the I don't want to have sex often is because I'm so in my head that I have no idea what my body might want.
Yeah.
And so these practices, like sitting and eye gazing, looking in each other's eyes and breathing, they get us into our bodies and they get us into now. And then it's not the mind trying to figure it out because the mind really can't have sex. It doesn't work very well from there.
Right.
So it's creating a sacred time, a sacred moment of we're meeting. And when you get seen in this soul gazing, eye gazing, that you look from the center of your heart to the other, there's something in that that opens the body very often. And so it's finding now is, in a way, the first task
Right. At any age.
at any age. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And so having both of us having practiced these practices, sometimes I can, when Evalena lived nearby, we could stand across the room and undulate and feel each other. And this bubbling spring of laughter would come up and joy would come up. And so it's worth all the processing, all the work to heal from incest, to heal from abuse, or even the simplest of shutting down because you're supposed to heal and go through that with a helper, with, Evalena, I highly recommend, and I love doing that work to learn, teach the body to be intimate again, to be in your skin and be in your aliveness.
Yes. One of the pieces that's evolved in my work for this reason, this purpose, is a form of soul retrieval because often young parts of us are caught in trauma in the past. And so you want to get into being sexual, but it's triggering that. And it's about a 3 to 5 minute process of going with Divine Mother, finding the child, loving them up, and bringing them, she brings them through space and time and into the heart chakra and into now. And then sometimes we just have them protected in the heart while the adult makes love. But now those old patterns aren't triggered, the trauma's not triggered. I think it's really the answer to PTSD is get your soul essence out of there into now.
Right.
And so a lot of what's made my erotic life so much richer is that I've gathered up all the aspects of my soul that got caught in time. So I'm all here. And
Right.
that's fun.
Right. To recognize, like, I'm having a trigger, a hysteria or whatever, and it's not about the present moment.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying is just so beautiful, and you do beautiful work.
Thank you.
And one of the last things I want to say, of a bazillion things I could be saying, I feel like we're just starting.
Uh-huh.
But it's also so good for your nervous system and your immune system to be in your radiance, to be in pleasure, to
Mhm.
allow that flow through the chakras, and the oxytocin that comes from the brain and scatters and helps to remove the cortisol from stress. And so to really spend that time being cherished and cherishing another is nurturing and healing and also empowering for our nervous system and our immune system to be stronger.
Right. Absolutely. And it tones the parasympathetic nervous system. When that's in tone, then all the organs come more into balance. The vagus nerve we know is the longest nerve in the body that runs through the center. And when you get that in tone, it nourishes every organ in the body. So orgasms help to tone the vagus nerve and balance the parasympathetic nervous system. So does chanting and toning and singing and humming. So we have these practices that we use that can help you get there so you can really be there to tone that vagus nerve and that central system to help you arrive.
So there's magic and there's science and there's love, all these ways that we learn about the body and about taking lovemaking to a more spiritual, more awakened level.
hmm And I would like to share with people that doing a puja with Lindy is amazing. So we did pujas together for 11 years, and they're like celebrations, rituals of using Tantra and doing the eye gazing, some of the practices we're talking about. And I love Lindy's puja so much that I go as an attendee because I get my intimacy needs met. And even though it's on Zoom across the country, I get the feeling of being right there with the person in their room and with the practices, feeling so connected that I come away with more oxytocin, that feel good chemical, and I come away more full and more real myself from doing that work.
And it surprises me every time how much, like how much I can feel you right now, my heart gets happier. That until we can be in person, and I will probably continue these because online, because of people like yourself, and I'm getting people from all over New York and
Hey.
Georgia. Yeah. and and preparing for my pujas, I'm doing an introductory series, and it's called Being Seen, being heard, and being touched. And this coming Saturday is the second one, Being Heard. And you can join one, two, or all three. Um, and so I welcome your questions, and you can go to my website, lindyjames.com, and check out some of the classes. I love teaching, and I love doing something like this so that we can touch you and have you get to feel what we do. And I highly recommend Evalena and her soul retrieval, or her council of 12, and the spiritual guidance that she's bringing. I'm sorry that we aren't in the same town or close enough to do things together, but we're doing this. And she does a beautiful channeling and many other things that are just wonderful.
Thank you. And my latest, I just did a piece of it today. My latest is a satsang community. So it's people coming together to share wisdom. And I'll channel the Council of 12, but also share my wisdom from 43 years of being a healing practitioner. And we're building a committed community that has an online Facebook group, There's bonuses of some of the meditations that open you to higher dimensions. So that's a lovely piece. And the other is a spiritual mentorship program,
Yeah.
which is a small group of rarefied group of individuals that are really moving forward in their life. And I'm mentoring them with the Council of 12. We're mentoring them in their work. And so everybody's moving in a different direction, but they're all getting mentored to do what is their authentic thing to do. It's quite exciting. And it's evalenarose.com.
Some of my students are in your class, and some of your students are in my class, and it just creates this wonderful synergy. I get blessed with what they learn when they come to my classes. It's just a wonderful journey, and I'm so grateful to be with you on this journey.
Thank
Even
you.
though now you're many thousands of miles, well, maybe not thousands, but a long ways away.
3,000?
Is it
3,000.
3,000?
Yeah.
No wonder it takes so many days to get there. But yeah, you're one of my favorite people on the planet.
Thank you. I'm reminded of someone saying to me at the end of your teaching one time, I'm so in love with Lindy. And I said, we all fall in love with Lindy. I think it's true. This is a woman you can fall in love with and know that she appreciates it, that you really you believe in us living in love.
Mhm.
And so that's where both of us have come to inhabit is the land of love.
Land of love, being love, receiving love.
Hmm.
And I give you all permission to receive and give love. Not that my permission is needed, but I invite.
Yes.
Yes,
Give you permission to give yourselves permission.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Evalena. And I hope we keep doing this. It's just comes so easy between us.
Yeah. I love that. Our work's always been that way.
Yeah.
Thank you, dear one. It's a joy to be with you.
Joy to be with you and all of you.
And we thank and bless all of you, and may you all find that your erotic lives just expand and grow and become more and more fulfilling and more delicious every day of the rest of your life. Blessed be.
Blessed be. Goodbye, dear. Goodbye,
Goodbye.
everyone.